Hey everyone, are you interested in a third gen Mini with the 1.5 petrol engine? Are you contemplating a stage 1 tune on one that you already own? Or do you just want to know how engine power relates to torque and how to convert them? Well, you might enjoy this one. Before I bought my Mini, I wanted to find a dyno sheet for the 1.5 petrol engine, but I couldn't. So here I'll be using all the data from a dyno run I did with my car, before and after the stage 1 remap. I made this spreadsheet to understand my engine better, and especially to know exactly when to shift for optimal acceleration. I'm sharing this spreadsheet today so that you can use it with your data. Let's go through it and see how it works, starting with how a dyno works. A dyno determines the power of an engine by applying a load to the engine output shaft, or the wheels when convenient, with a controllable device capable of absorbing power like a water brake. The dyno control system matches the load to the amount of torque the engine is producing at a given instant, then measures that torque and the RPM of the engine. From those two measurements, it calculates the power of the engine. Here we have the definitions of power and torque. Power is the rate at which an engine does work. It is calculated from torque and RPM. Torque is a force, measured in pounds, applied around a given point at a certain radius, measured in feet. Below the definitions are the most popular units for measuring power and torque, and up here in yellow are their conversion rates. For example, 1 PS, which is German and stands for Pferdstärke, is equivalent to 0.986 horsepower or 0.735 kilowatts. 1 pound-foot is equal to 1.36 Newton-meters. I've also included the mathematical formula for converting horsepower to pound-foot, and vice versa, in their respective cells using the RPM of the engine's output shaft. Now, for each available metric, we can fill in the columns with data and convert them to any other metric. Then we can plot them onto graphs for easier viewing. As you can see, I've filled in the PS columns for my stock and stage 1 data because that's what the dyno gave me. Then I converted the PS to horsepower, and I'll show you how to convert it to kilowatts. All you need to do is select the cell which you want to fill in, then hit equals on your keyboard. Now we just need to input the formula which is going to calculate the kilowatt value. Now I'm converting from horsepower, so I'll select the equivalent cell for the horsepower value, add a star for multiplication, and select the correct conversion rate. Now the horsepower value is going to change, but I want the conversion rate to stay constant, so after selecting it, I'll hit F4 on my keyboard, which will keep it constant all the way to the bottom of the column. Now I have all my values in kilowatts. Let's fill in the torque columns by converting from horsepower with the formula provided. Now let's convert from pound-foot to Newton-meters. And we can finally plot some data onto some graphs. I'll leave a graph here as a template, and all you need to do is change the input data by right-clicking on the middle part of the graph, going to Select Data and Add, and just select the column you wish to add to the graph. I like to make it look a bit nicer by deleting the labels and smoothing the line. Your car might be more or less powerful than mine, so this vertical axis representing the power values might have to be modified to match. Select it, right-click, Format Axis, and change the min and max values. Now let's finally have a look at what can be learnt from a dyno sheet. Here we have the torque values on the dotted lines, and the power values on the hard lines. Power is a function of torque, but even though torque drops off as the revs get higher, the power can still increase because it also depends on the RPM. So a flat torque curve would result in a steadily increasing power curve, and to get a flat power curve, you'd need a steadily decreasing torque curve. On the stock map, the power peaks at around 4,500 RPM and stays there until 5,300. So to get the best performance, you want to keep the engine at its highest power output, but at some point, you'll have to shift up. So you want to make sure that when the RPM drops as a consequence of shifting, you'll still be in the optimal power band. If you shift from first to second as soon as you hit 4,500 RPM, the RPM will drop to about 2,600, and you'll be out of the optimal power band. So shifting from first to second is most efficient at 6,500 RPM, because dropping to 5.5 means you'll have maximum power straight after the shift. This logic is repeated from second to third, third to fourth, and so on. But note that the difference in gear ratios between the different gears gets smaller as the gears increase. So the amount of RPM dropped at each shift will decrease as well, meaning you don't have to go all the way to 6,500 RPM to stay in the power band for shifting in higher gears. Here is a detailed spreadsheet of each optimal shift point. Now let's look at the power curve after the stage 1 remap. As you can see, the power is not only higher, but it also keeps increasing past 4.5 all the way up to 6,000 RPM. So for every gear, the optimal shift point is going to be red line. That's everything I wanted to show you, so feel free to download this spreadsheet and use your own data. If you like, you can send me screenshots of your most interesting graphs to the email in the description, and I'll feature them in a special video to help spread the knowledge. Just make sure to include the exact model of the car and state of tune, if any. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you soon.